Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Formula One. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my sister, Jack.
Hi, everybody.
And we had quite the week in Vegas.
Quite, yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started off with a bang with this Hunger Games style opening ceremony.
Very on trend, seeing as the prequel movie came out. Vegas knew what they were doing. They were prepped. They were ready.
I watched it and I was like, this feels a little dystopian, but okay. And then the action continued for about 9 minutes in FP1 when my entire world came crashing down. And if you missed, I don't know how you would have missed it, but if we are informing you of what happened, I am very sorry. Essentially, 9 minutes into FP1, there was a loose drain cover that Carlos hit, which destroyed his car. That whole thing, I guess we'll get to in a second. But then they had to basically fill in all of the drains, and it took hours. So a lot of people that paid for tickets on Thursday only ended up getting to watch 9 minutes of racing because they were kicked out before FP2 started.
Yeah, because those opening ceremonies, those happened on Wednesday, didn't they? If I'm remembering correctly. Like, they didn't even get that.
Yeah. So I was like, are you kidding? And essentially, I think it was something related to like how long they'd staffed everything. So they didn't have enough staff or enough security or something long enough to allow people to stay for FP2 because it was at like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Another thing, I feel like after we recap what happened this weekend, I think we'll go through. I have opinions.
I've loads, so
yeah. So all of these people got kicked out. They ran FP2, but all of these people who paid for tickets to watch FP1 and FP2, which were not cheap, were not given an apology in that letter from F1.
Yeah, no.
And we're also then offered a $200 gift card to the merch store.
Which, if you think about it, I wonder, okay, so we've gone to the IndyCar races in Nashville, and we bought merch there. It was expensive, but I can only imagine, like, it's got to be 3 times the price buying merch at an F1 race. I don't even think $200 would, like, really buy you anything. And only that gives money back to them that they can report that makes their race look successful.
Exactly. And then so you're gonna buy merch for a race that you only got to watch 9 minutes of one practice of?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you
and practice tickets are normally like, I mean,
I was seeing that the average cost was like $400 for Thursday.
Yeah, it is expensive. Obviously, everyone was commenting on the drop in the past couple of weeks in Vegas, but imagine if you didn't buy when those prices dropped. Imagine if you bought those original tickets. That's insane.
I mean, even after the price drop, they were still expensive. It was just significantly less. So according to Twitter, Formula One has now had a class action lawsuit filed against them by 35,000 fans from that Thursday event.
I saw that. Yeah. Definitely be watching that one closely. I'll be interested to see how that pans out.
Yeah. I mean, I think, that obviously, everything makes me think of the 2005 United States Grand Prix. But this made me think of it because there were those class action lawsuits. And if you remember our episode about that, the result of a lot of those is that they were not successful in getting compensation in many cases because it was a safety issue. So I think this is a bit of a different situation, right? Because they couldn't have run FP2 before they'd secured the drains.
Yeah.
I think
So they
the
could
issue is
argue
more
the
like,
same.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think the counter argument, the fan side of the argument is like, you should have had the infrastructure for us to be able to stay and watch what we paid for. So I think it'll be an interesting thing to watch play out.
Yeah. Or I just like wonder if there's, we both work in business settings. Like there's always something, like I feel like there's got to be like some form of like fine print, right? That's like you're kind of coming at your own risk, whether that's safety wise or like we might have to red flag the race on Sunday and we
Yeah.
don't get to restart it, or we might have to cancel it. Like I wonder if there's like some form of like fine print
Like,
that people like really didn't read that like
yeah,
is
I
gonna.
also, that's a really good point.
I
I
know.
would imagine there's some sort of like terms and conditions where it's like, when you are purchasing a ticket for that day, you are purchasing a ticket for that day, not necessarily the session scheduled for that day. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. So
Yeah.
it'll be, yeah,
That's a good
it'll
point.
be an interesting,
Definitely will keep an eye on it
yeah.
though, because that will definitely define like how I think Vegas, it's got one more year in its contract right on the calendar. And then we'll see.
I thought it was 10. Am I?
No, I thought it was till 25.
Oh, that
I'll
makes a
I'll
lot more
double check.
sense. The
I'll double check for you now.
the whole weekend I was like, okay, perfect. While you're double checking that, Jack, I will set up the second part of this issue that ruined my weekend, Carlos Sainz's weekend for sure, a lot of people's weekend, which is the damage that Carlos sustained to his car from hitting this loose drain cover was obviously extremely extensive. For whatever reason, there isn't a loophole or enough give in the rules that the stewards gave him a 10-place grid penalty for fixing the car. That is bananas to me. That like genuinely, this is the pinnacle of motorsport, and you don't have a way to kind of void that. Like the rules are the rules. You have to get a 10-place grid penalty for hitting a loose drain cover that the FIA and Formula One was supposed to ensure that the track was safe to drive on.
Yeah, that it didn't make sense to me at all. And also we were in practice, so I don't understand. I know like it was like, oh, you had to like work on the engine, so it's like, but I thought like I don't know. I don't think I fully understand um the rules of like practice versus being in what is it, park
Well,
farming.
beyond working like that, Parc Ferme, it was just the parts he had to take are those, how there's certain parts where you get an allocation, and if you have to take another one, you get a grid penalty.
Yeah.
So it was those
Okay.
parts. So even beyond, I do believe, I actually don't recall when Parc Ferme conditions start. I think it's, I don't know. But Parc Ferme wasn't, I don't think the issue here. It was the parts that they had to replace. Just
Because
crazy,
his car
though.
was destroyed. Fred Vassar, I think, is talking about now how he's like taking action and being like, we need to get compensation for the parts that were destroyed, it was not our fault. It's not like he crashed and we had to replace everything. It was like, you guys didn't do the track properly. And we had to spend over over, I think, $1.5 million repairing this car. That wasn't our fault. We were literally just doing like what? We're just doing some laps, and you destroyed our car and put us at risk of not competing.
Bananas. The fact that they could not get him out of that grid penalty, and they were like, the stewards are like, there's nothing we can do. Insane to me. Insane.
I just don't get like, how tight are those rules then?
Like,
there are like some F1 rules that are so loose that I'm like, we need to lock that up. We need to lock it up like years ago. But this one's so airtight, you can't even just move, like, put in some form of wiggle room of like, "Oh, well, we're gonna look at the circumstance." You
Yeah, like
joking?
extenuating circumstances. It's like crazy to me. There was also the rumor that I don't know that it's confirmed that like the teams, all but Mercedes, agreed to vote to not have Carlos have a penalty. I don't know how
Mm.
true that is because, again, going back to the 2005 United States Grand Prix, the teams were also voting to add a chicane, and the FIA was never going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know how like true or not true that is. Regardless, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. I still can't
But
believe it, to be
my
honest.
God. But a nice bright shining star that did begin around this chaos. Max was on hater mode to the max this weekend. I loved it. I loved it. I was eating it up every single second. I was like,
Because
go on,
yeah, because we were
speak
like,
your
"We're
truth.
pissed that you're there. You're pissed that you're there." Like, we are on the same page.
Oh my God. If you missed Max's just never ending tirade this weekend, he didn't like the opening ceremony. He did not like the track. He actually, I think, said at one point, "This is not an interesting track to me." Um,
Yeah, he
and
did.
which I do like to a lot of his points, I somewhat agreed, where he was like, "This is just all like a big show for these people to like go party, like no one actually cares about the racing." And there were points where I was like, this is getting a little too kitschy and ridiculous. um
100%.
but I was like, the most this is the most I've ever loved Max Verstappen. I was like, keep going, give him more interviews, keep
It
saying
was
it.
so funny. He was like, "We look like clowns. This is 99% show, 1% racing," which was 100% true. He was also, he was in an interview, he was in the pen, and the interview was like, "Is it a fun track for you, to, like, be going on, like, down the strip?" And he was like he just immediately just said, "No." And then that was it. It was no period. No is a full sentence, and Max Verstappen knows it.
I loved it. I loved it. It was incredible. Also, the tweets that went along with it. Everybody on Twitter was having a field day. It was great.
The meme tweets, this is, there's parts where you're like, "God, social media is, like, kinda rough, gotta, like," but the things like this is when we all come together, and it's like, this is why we need social media in these circumstances,
Loved it.
100%. Everybody was on their game, and they knew it. The even, like, the admins for the teams were on it. Williams' admin for the Sphere was hilarious.
Did you see
Um,
during the delay between FP1 and FP2, Williams and Alpine admins played tic tac toe on Twitter?
no, I didn't. Okay, Alpine stepping it up as they should be. They have a lot to lean into, and they need to. They need to start doing it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, the Sphere was honestly, I think, the star of the show.
I love the Sphere. I want a Sphere at every race. It was great.
I
I loved it.
love the Sphere. I
It was
really
so.
wanted it to I had commented on, like, Sports Illustrated F1's TikTok because they were saying we need to get um, the iconic Drive to Survive principal meeting between, it's like, I have it printed out, like those sort of things. I was like, we need to start a GoFundMe. And people were into it. Sports Illustrated commented back, and I almost died.
Maybe next year. Maybe
Maybe
next year.
next year. We'll start it next year. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was looked up really quick because I thought it was till 2025 they had it, but I'm getting like 10 years. They're Disney the race
I
an
thought it
annual
was.
event over the next 10 years.
I thought it was 10 years.
Yeah, which seems like, oh, is that a lot when you add a new? I feel like I haven't really been a. I guess Miami would have been new, but I try to block out Miami forever. Unless anyone wants to send me to Miami, then let's go to Miami.
Yeah.
I'll be in full Pitbull costume, like Jamie.
Yeah. I dressed up as Pitbull for the Miami race this year in my apartment at home, but I would do that again in person if anybody wants us to go.
We will sweat it out in bald caps in
Oh
Miami
yeah,
to whatever your brand is. Have us go.
whatever.
Yeah, I just feel like that 10 years is a lot for like a new race to join. Seems like too much. You should be on
I think
a
it's all
starter
money.
pack.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
money though.
Makes sense.
I mean, you know, a lot of this race I feel like was just sort of blatant money grab, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
Alex Earl, I hope you had so much fun at
I
another
love
F1
it.
race. No, I
She's
love
such a
her. That's
great
not
time.
slander.
Yeah.
And I think she's getting into it, honestly.
She looked great.
She looked great.
Love her.
And then another TikToker that I follow, Madeline White, I think her name is, and she's like genuinely into F1. Like she went to a bunch of races and she went with Ferrari and she got dressed by Ferrari and it was so cool. And she got to meet Charles and Carlos and her TikToks were so funny. She's like, I died then. I just died. I didn't know what to say to them.
So good. Love it.
I get it.
So yeah, I mean, as we get through, you know, I guess we'll get to I guess we've been sharing our opinions this whole time, but we'll get to like real opinions.
Yeah.
You know, but qualifying happened. It was Friday. I didn't stay up. It was 3 a.m. for us on the East Coast, so I was not interested in staying awake for that. So I did record it and watch it in the morning. Charles Leclerc pole.
I'm glad you had a great time.
Should have been a Ferrari one too. However, that ridiculous grid penalty. So it was Charles Leclerc first, then Max started second. He qualified third. Williams P6 and P7.
That made me so happy. I went into this weekend being like, you guys, I was trash talking so much to my friends who like don't really know F1, so they didn't care. But to have to go back and correct myself sucked because I was like, this is Williams and McLaren's time to shine. It's all straightaways. There's barely any turns. This is us, which was great because Williams did get like was it 6? Because it's 6 and 7, right?
I think they qualified 7 and 8. And then with the grid penalty, they were 6 and 7.
Up. And then, McLaren 16 and 19 was sick.
McLaren really struggled. Really struggled.
Don't know. It felt like we're back in the beginning of the season. Was not a fan.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Yeah, quali was disappointing. Was interesting about who was making it through, for sure.
Yeah, but overall, it wasn't like a wild quali though. It was no real like chaotic right till the end type stuff. And then we got to the race, which was at 1 a.m. our time, and we both did stay up for that. And I was like, why am I doing this? This race is going to be boring, which I think a lot of people felt.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, were we wrong? I have been on the hater train ever since they dropped the picture of what the track was going to look like. And everyone was like, it looks like a pig. And I was like, this is going to stink. No. I'm wrong. Hand up, admitting it. I was wrong. I thought this was a great race.
You thought it was you're pro now. You're pro Vegas.
I'm not pro. No, we'll get to that after the opinions.
Okay. But you thought the race itself was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the race was fun. It was definitely interesting. There was a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure you got a list to go through.
Oh, I got a list. Before the race began, we had, which I'm excited to hear your opinion about, these driver announcements featuring Bruce Buffer. As a self-proclaimed LL Cool J apologist for what he did in Miami. How'd you feel about that?
What do you mean, apologist? I love LL Cool J. LL
That's
Cool
what I
J, I
mean.
feel like LL Cool J, I understand like Bruce Buffer, he's like the guy, right?
Mhm.
In like
Yeah.
sports, like I get the significance of him doing it. Um, it just felt for some reason like Miami, it was just easy. LL Cool J would say his little spiel, and he like knew things about each one of them, and like it just felt a little bit more put together. And then all the guys had to do was just walk out in a straight line, and that was it. And they were golden. And this one was a little bit different, and it made it a lot more awkward and more cringe to watch.
Okay. Here's the
AKA
thing.
Lance, AKA Checo, AKA Alex Albon, and I loved all of them.
So, okay, I ask because I genuinely can't even watch clips of it back because it made me
No.
so uncomfortable.
I can't.
That Checo
Um,
clip,
and he's
I
just
wanted to.
standing there and he's screaming in his face.
Oh my God.
Uh, it, like,
I'm like, I can't watch it. I can't.
and then there's Alex who like thought, I don't know, he just like kept stutter stepping, like, but he was, and he kept looking back, being like, I don't know what's happening. So I think
It was
next
not the
year,
right combo or like setting or something. I understand like
yeah,
having Bruce there, like
yeah.
especially like he's Vegas sports. I understand that. It was just, I think, maybe a bit too much for some of our more introverted friends on the grid.
We got to think about our introverted friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we love them. And we appreciate you. Yeah, I think just simplify it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what they were trying to do, what they were trying to go for, especially because Las Vegas is a big like fight city, like UFC, MMA, all
Mhm.
that stuff. Like maybe UFC is MMA, I don't really know. Boxing, that's another one.
Your guess is, I have no idea.
So like that was the vibe. I 100% get what they were going for. Um just maybe, yeah, just simplify it. Maybe just a quick practice run. Not even like a practice run, just so everyone can see, visualize. For our visual learners like me. I'm a visual
Dress
learner. You
rehearsal.
just, you know, just go through it. And also, I know you were trying to help Bruce with the pronunciations. Maybe have him run through it with you a couple of times and then him write the pronunciation so he knows how to pronounce people's names.
Charel. Charel
Charel,
Leclerc.
it sounded like something from the DC universe, like comic
Yeah.
book alien. It's Charel coming from the planet Monaco. Like that's how it sounded to me. It did not sound like Charles Leclerc, the Prince of Monaco. Like that's normally what we're used to making those jokes, not like
Yeah.
alien superhero, whatever Charel is now.
I think to like wrap up the Bruce announcements is I would say it was a fantastic V1. And let's make some revisions.
Love, yes.
Yeah.
Good rough draft that made it to the
Hmm.
final, but we'll do another one.
Exactly.
You got
Yeah.
10, you guys got 10 tries.
Yeah, literally. It'll be perfect in 10 years.
In 10 years, he's got it down.
Yeah. And so then the race begins after a slight delay because one of the cars from the driver parade spilled some oil on the track, which was, we know we can't have that. And turn one, the action begins immediately. Deeply aggressive drive from Charles and Max. Max
Yeah.
ended up forcing Charles off the track, takes the lead of the race, resulting in him getting a 5-second penalty. But he does remain in the lead of the race for the first chunk of it. And then also in the back/middle of the grid, there was a Carlos spin. There was a Fernando spin. There was also then, was it Valtteri who like hit Fernando twice? Did you see that?
I think it was Valtteri. And I'm here
It
for
was
it.
like it was
Valtteri
like
was, I feel like, in his element this weekend, shockingly, and I loved it.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was a
So
crazy another we've gone through a couple races with some crazy
turn
first lap
ones. Yeah,
turn ones.
yeah. So there
So
was
it
lots
it
of
continued.
carnage. Carlos is claiming that that was due to the oil spilled on the track.
Okay.
I don't know. I saw they taking care of it. I'm not quite sure. Who's to say? I wasn't
Martin,
there.
we weren't there. We would love to go next year. I love Vegas.
I've never been. So.
We gotta get Jamie to Vegas. I I remember Martin Brundle and Crofty were talking about, like, the newness of the asphalt and how they kept
Yes.
saying that or because it's so new and it hasn't been driven on a lot, is that it's 1, it's cold, obviously, so the tires
Mhm,
can't grip. I think it was warmer than they predicted. Um,
mhm.
but the oils of the asphalt kept, like, seeping out as it kept, packing down, and so they were like, "That's why it looks like everybody's just slipping and sliding."
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, they didn't have any support series running with them. Like, typically there's
Yeah,
like F2, F3. I mean, at Coda they had F1 Academy,
yeah.
and there were no other cars using this track as well. So it was brand new, and there was no other cars besides F1 to like lay down more rubber and things like that. So that's also definitely a contributing factor. Um,
And they
yeah,
had 9 minutes of an FP1 and then didn't have an FP2, and so they went from 9 minutes
they
then
did
to quali.
have an FP. They did have an FP2. It's just the fans weren't there.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
W
Um, but it
yeah.
was, yeah, I mean, it's just far less time with cars on the track. But luckily, nobody DNF'd from that first turn.
Nope.
Got some people, obviously falling to the back of the grid with their spins and things like that. But then there was a absolutely massive crash from Lando around lap 4, maybe a
Yeah.
little later.
I think it was a
Um,
little later. If it was 4, then that's crazy because that's his number.
Maybe it was like lap 8. It was early in the race.
It was early in the
Um,
race. A big big yeah, that radio. Did you hear his
Scary.
radio?
Yeah.
God.
It was a really
In
scary
those
crash.
photos,
Thank God he's okay.
he's okay. He went to the hospital just in case, and then he was actually back with the team before the race ended.
Mhm.
But he looked high out of his mind.
I'm sure they pumped him full of painkillers.
They
I'm
gave him
sure of
something. Do you remember on Bondi Rescue, they'd give him the whistle?
it. Oh my God, Bondi
Um,
Rescue. I love that
Bondi
show.
Rescue, we're gonna have to do another watch of Bondi Rescue, but I don't think the US does a whistle, but they must have something similar.
Yeah, it's just gotta be like quick. Wasn't it like sort of laughing gas, that whistle? Like same idea.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I haven't
I don't
watched
know.
that in
They
so
gave him,
long.
I'm sure they gave him something.
Yeah.
But apparently the cause of that crash was a bump on the track that caused Lando to like bottom out and lose the rear. Which then that
No.
makes me, if that is really the case, I'm like, who checked the track? Because we had a
Uh,
loose drain cover
yeah.
and a bump on the racing line.
Yeah, I'm sure McLaren's looking into that. They've got to, if that's the thing, and then I wonder if they'll go in on something with Ferrari then, because they had a significant amount of damage to their car too from that crash.
Yeah.
So, oh, I did
So,
not hear that.
yeah. So then again, also allegedly, don't
Alleged,
sue us.
alleged.
Um,
We
I
don't
did
have a
was
legal system. We don't have a lawyer yet, so no one's
I was
suing us.
listen. If you sue us, I was pre-law in college, and I think I'd have to handle it. And there's a reason I didn't go to law school.
I took business law, but the only thing I got out of business law is that they don't have to disclose to you when you buy a house if it's haunted.
Don't they also not have to disclose like if someone died in the house and stuff?
I think if there was a murder, then they have to disclose it, but, like, if someone died of, like, natural causes, then I don't think so. Any lawyers listening, if you wanna help us out
Let's have a
with that
lawyer
one.
talk pod.
Talk
If you're a
lawyer
lawyer,
Yeah.
you want to come on the podcast and answer all of our legal questions, motorsport related, and also a lot not motorsport related. Let
They're
us
gonna be a
know.
lot not.
Mainly not motorsport related.
Yeah, because we're gonna have a lot of like the show Suits, a lot of questions about that. There's
Yeah.
there is no I always just think about how this will be the last thing I'll say about it, and then we can move on back to the race. None of them, like, none of the women are in business appropriate attire.
I don't think most, yeah. There's
None of
definitely
them.
not a dress code in that office.
There was none. I mean, they looked
I think that
fabulous.
is,
Whoever designed those
yeah.
clothes looks amazing. I'm sure they're very expensive, but it's not business professional clothing.
I will say, in the grand scheme of all the things that they get wrong about the legal system in that show, I feel like the clothing is probably a lower priority one.
Maybe.
But I would say it's definitely correct. So, uh, back to the race.
Back to the race.
So after the crash with Lando, Max did have some contact with George, where like George didn't really see him. Had some front
Yeah.
wing end plate damage, I think, was really the max from that. Oscar and Lewis also had contact, I think, resulting in one, if not both of them, having a puncture. But again, neither of them DNF'd, so
Yeah.
all good there.
So, yeah, it's good. It's great because I feel like George and Max's. It was kind of like a boom.
Yeah,
So it was
like a
just a little
boom.
like it was like a little clap.
Yeah.
White hit the mic. Sorry, probably heard that.
And then the Oscar and Lewis one also was not really super
Yeah,
intense. I was kind of surprised that they both had even punctures. It kind of just seemed like they like bumped each other.
yeah,
So, but some really lots of overtaking, some really entertaining racing, kind of up and down the grid, and that sort of came to a close with Charles Leclerc's epic last lap overtake on Checo. I screamed.
it was
Sorry to my
amazing.
neighbors. It was 2:30 in the morning, but it was awesome.
No, it was
And
awesome.
yeah, and our
Poor
podium
Checo
for
though,
yeah,
because that's
the second
what
time
the
in a
second
row,
race. Yeah,
and
Fernando did
in a
it to him
row,
in Brazil, and then Charles did it
and
to
then
him.
Charles, yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
our
it was
podium
fun
for the
racing.
first ever Vegas Grand Prix is Max P1, Charles P2, and Checo P3. And then they like had this whole shebang. This is another thing I have an opinion about at the end of the race, where they all had to get in a Rolls Royce and like drive to the Bellagio for the fountains.
I loved it.
Okay,
I
loved the
loved
first
it.
part. I loved them being in a car. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like they're on a date. This is so cute.
Yeah.
I just felt it was unnecessary that they drove all the way there. They did the interviews, and then it was like, and now everyone be quiet. We're going to watch the fountains. And then now everyone get back in the car, and now we're going to drive back to go do the podium. Why not, Vegas organizers, if you're listening, why not have them do the podium at the Bellagio and then set off the fountains while they're doing the champagne?
Oh, that would look really nice.
Like, duh.
Yeah, I love that. That would look so nice. Um, I couldn't tell you. I also didn't understand why everyone had to stand and watch. Like, why couldn't we maybe watch the fountains for like a hot second while they get in the car and um but the memes that came out of the car were so funny. So funny. Also Red Bull, your race suits killed it. Killed.
It's so funny. They were so. I wish I wanted so badly. I was hoping and praying that they were going to make them put the capes on for the podium, but they didn't. The Elvis
Oh,
capes.
that would have been sick.
Yeah,
It's
maybe next
giving
year.
it was giving 2017, I think, Austin vibes when they dressed up as like cowboys, when they
Yeah,
looked like kind of like a Woody.
yeah.
And I loved it because I
I love
loved
a
the Woody
special
one.
race suit.
I love a special, like a lean into the theme special race suit.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Ferraris?
Um, we got the merch and the race suits first, and I really wasn't a fan, but I loved the livery. So then I was like okay with all of it because it all matched. But I felt like the
Yeah.
livery, like the white Ferrari on the rear wing, delicious. Loved it.
Yeah,
So
the white was really cool to see all that. That was really, really cool. I
yeah,
like that a lot. We got
yeah.
a
It
lot
was
of
also
also a lot.
hilarious. It was hilarious, like watching Checo and Charles in specifically in the Rolls Royce as well, because they looked like they were just on the same team.
Yeah, the red was confusing to me for a hot second, and every now and then I would look and be like, "Oh, Carlos,
Yeah.
you're there too, or what?" Because the 2 reds was confusing. Not having them in
Yeah,
the
I,
same was
I
confusing.
wonder why they didn't just go with both of them in the white.
Or not even just, like, maybe one in the a blue? I think because the Red Bull blue is different than,
Well,
like,
I
a
don't know much
Williams
about
blue.
Elvis. Did Elvis wear blue?
I don't think Elvis really wore red. I don't know.
We
I
are
also haven't
not the
seen
two
them.
people to be asking.
I also didn't see I know this is such a sin, but I didn't see the Elvis movie either.
Neither have I.
The white is
But
what is the most iconic for
yeah,
Elvis.
I'm sure he has had worn red at one point.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
he's got a lot of them.
okay, never mind.
Never
Never mind.
mind. Never
Take it
mind.
back.
Never mind.
But yeah, so overall, I think as far as the weekend, I was pleasantly surprised with how good the racing was. I am. This is a race that I'm looking forward to next year in terms of the race. But I do think there is a lot to be worked out in finding that balance of having a Vegas show and making it very Vegas and very flashy, but not making it kitschy and cringe and annoying.
Yeah. Also change the times, please.
There is no reason to have it that late, in my opinion.
We're already at that point in daylight savings. We've fallen back.
Yeah.
It just doing no one can who could watch that? I don't think anyone I don't know. It probably benefited some people, but definitely didn't benefit I feel like the majority.
It's just like you want to have a night race, great. I think a lot of the issues specifically relating to like that kicking people out and running out of time for people to be able to watch FP2 probably could have been prevented if it was a normal hour.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to run everything at night also. You could run quali at night and your opening ceremony stuff at night and then the race at night. It does not need to be that late. And then I think there's just a lot of logistical things that I'm sure will be smoothed out, but like the end thing with the like driving back and forth from the Bellagio felt too long and disorganized.
Yeah. The
So,
car was
and there were
great. Loved it.
far too many people on the grid for the grid walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, so like little logistical things like that. And I think hopefully they will find that balance because I think it's fun to lean into the Vegas of it all to
Yeah.
a point. And that's why I was saying like I agreed with Max on some things because it felt a bit much at times. So I hope they find that balance. But overall, I'm a self-admitted retired Vegas hater.
I don't think I'm there yet. Um, yeah, I don't think I'm there yet. Opening ceremony, I would also suggest I mean, Kylie Minogue, love you, adore you. But we don't need 30 Seconds to Mars. I know they just announced their tour. I get why they're doing it, but, like, no. Um, there was a lot of people I just didn't know that performed. I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe that's also showing my my age. My I listen to, like, Noah Kahan and, like, that's it. So, maybe that's also part of it. I don't know. I think you just need, like, also American artists. I know you and Alex had talked about that with Coda last year of like
Yeah, when Ed
Ed
Sheeran
Sheeran.
performed.
Ed Sheeran performed, but it's just like, okay, sick. Like that's so dope. Like, yeah, again, Vegas, like it's sick. You have so many people, so many different types of artists. Like Adele has her residency there. Like maybe just throw in a couple more American artists because it is an American race.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, and it's all things that I think they'll work out eventually, right?
Yeah.
There are, and everybody who's like ever hosted anything, there's only so many things you can test out before it's just like you gotta kind
Yeah.
of see.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're having their debrief meetings galore this week and going through all
Yeah.
of this. But yeah,
I did like the opening ceremony of having each team get announced, like especially
I
because
thought that
you
was
think of like
cool.
Vegas, it's Vegas kind of again like what Max was saying, it's like 99% show. There were definitely people, there were a ton of people there who don't know anything about F1, especially because
Yeah.
it is growing in the US, but it's not a big major thing in the US. So there's still a lot of growth there. So I think that that's helpful for people too.
Yeah.
Um and
A lot
it
can
was
be
cool to like
done, I
have
think, to
their
like
yeah.
marry the show with actually making
Yeah.
people understand more. Like the amount of people that I saw that were kicked out that Thursday that were not Formula One fans. They either like lived in Vegas or they were like an influencers or something, and they were saying like they were missing the race, like just basic things. Like these
Yeah.
people didn't understand watching practice; they thought they were watching a race. So
Yeah.
there are so many ways that you can like make it a show, but still make it engaging and inviting people in to learn more about the sport.
Yeah, like I would 100% suggest inviting some F1 motorsport influencers, content creators. Try to
Yeah.
mesh them in with the other influencers that you're bringing in to balance out that, oh yeah, I'm here. Let's go watch the cars go vroom vroom jokingly. And it's like, okay, well, some people would kill to be in your shoes. It's kind of the same thing with like the Miami thing of I want this sport to grow. Like it's so cool. Like you can definitely tell like Alex Earl is definitely getting a little bit more into it. Or at least I think she learned from some of the backlash that she got from Miami. But it's just like there's so many people out here who would just kill to have those seats.
Yeah. And I think it's a balance that you find, right? Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, one, I personally think anybody that, wants to watch an F1 race should be allowed to, regardless of if you've
Yeah.
never even seen it before. If you're invited, go for it. I'm so excited for you. But there is also, and that those people, the people that don't know anything but have followings, are the people that are actually going to make a profit for these brands that are sending them there.
Yeah.
They're going on a brand deal.
Totally.
But the balance
They're
to
the
be struck
first.
of also including and doing more outreach. And I think this is a huge opportunity just for Liberty Media and Formula One that they haven't taken advantage of. Is like you have this gigantic online community of all of these creators who want to spread the sport and want to educate people about the sport. Take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Come on. My Italian hands are
Yeah.
coming out. Please.
No, and like you said when what we were talking about with Greg, last episode of there are people online everywhere for this sport. And so you will always be able to find somebody who wants to talk about this sport, whether it's to promote the race that's going on in their home country or in even like their home city. Some people are very lucky to have that. So there are people out there, just do some Googling, take advantage, and
We need to go on Google, like just scroll on TikTok a little bit or scroll
yeah,
on Instagram. You'll find them.
I'm sure they've tagged you. I'm sure.
As people who have tagged you, we know they've tagged you.
AKA also Williams, I've tagged you a ton. James
We love you,
Vowels. We
William.
followed you on Instagram. We love that you're on
Oh
it.
my gosh, welcome to Instagram Names Vowels. With that, though, that does relate to just a little fun thing we're going to do for today's episode, because we did take 45 minutes to talk about Vegas.
There's a lot that happened.
Yeah. If you are listening to this as it comes out and you are also in America, it is Thanksgiving week in America. It's a holiday about giving thanks, reflecting on the things that you're thankful for. So Jack had this lovely idea that we take a little bit of time to share a few things that we're thankful for in motorsport.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick it off, Jack, since this was your brainchild?
Absolutely. I'd like to start with something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I think about probably every other day, is, the Ferrari singing along to their national anthem after Carlos won the race in Singapore. I'm very grateful for the Ferrari fan base. I think you guys are spectacular. I think the Ferrari mechanics are spectacular. And yeah, I think that it's just like very, very grateful. It's something that just warms my heart every time.
So great. The pride. It's just unmatched.
Yeah.
My first thing that I listed that I am thankful for is F1 Twitter users who have this uncanny ability to make everything into a meme. Not only that, but to do it so quickly that I could not tell you the amount of stories and the amount of breaking news I learned through an F1 Twitter user's meme. I love it.
And they're so funny, dude. Not talking like quickly, yes, but so funny. Always. They always hit. So creative.
Incredible.
It's also funny because we as a fandom have like, there's two memes that I think of pretty often because we see them a ton because they just work every time. One of them is the like in the pool swimming. It's like the mom helping the one who's like lifting him up like Simba, and then there's the one kid who's drowning, and then there's like you sink deeper, and then there's the skeleton, and then the other one is from the Community, the show, and it's the guy entering. It's Childish Gambino entering with pizza and everything's on fire. Because those two, it's just like one or the other, where so many amazing things happen that we kind of focus on one thing, or absolute chaos just erupts that it's overwhelming.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just never boring. It's always fun. I do, I'm a big fan. I'm not a contributor. I don't tweet. I just view. So I'm very thankful for all of you that do the legwork in the creation of those tweets.
We view, we like, we repost.
Absolutely.
So everyone else can see your beautiful work. Yeah, exactly. I would also like to say that I am grateful for Lance's hand surgeon for getting Daniel back on the grid.
And Lance.
Where he belongs. And Lance, insanely quick. I feel like there's some sort of black magic happening. We will see what that happens, but very grateful for you, doctor, because I don't know if it's a man or a woman, so I won't say. I'm just going to say doctor. Very grateful for you, doctor.
We're very, very grateful for you. I am grateful for whatever team employee is in charge of coming up with the fun little challenges that the drivers have to do for the team YouTube channels, because they're always great. You are so creative.
Yeah.
Keep doing you. Keep going. Give us more. I love this.
The social media admins are definitely working hard. You guys are killing it. Especially those, the Aero McLaren admin, IndyCar McLaren. You guys kill it always. You guys are so funny.
Aero McLaren IndyCar team admin, probably my number one underappreciated admin on motorsport.
And did you see that they made the social media ad? I don't know if it was a social media team. I wouldn't be surprised. They made the three guys make a cake. Pato,
Yes.
Alex, and David had to make a cake, but they couldn't. Each one like had a sense taken away.
Yeah.
So, like
Oh, it
Pato
was
couldn't see.
unreal.
It
Unreal.
was so good.
If you are into IndyCar, you will love this video. If you are not into IndyCar, this video is the perfect way to get you into IndyCar.
100%.
Highly recommend watching that.
Highly recommend.
My favorite part is when Alexander goes feel it, and Pato just puts his hand in cake batter.
And then starts wiggling his fingers around, and David can't talk, and he's just dying, and Alexander's just like screaming because he can't hear. He has like those headphones in. It was so funny.
And Pato can't see. Highly recommend.
Pato's like, he's like, love you said to feel it. So yeah, very funny. I also want to say that I am grateful for, it seems like odd timing since we didn't do that well, but McLaren's upgrades, because it's given us 7 Lando podiums and 2 double podiums this season and a Oscar Piastri sprint race win. So very excited.
Strongest year in a long time.
In a long time. The papaya is strong, and we just hope that it continues next year. And Zach Brown, I will be very grateful for you if you give us a full chrome car next year. That's my only condition.
Give the people what we want, Zach. Give us what we want. I am thankful for every single reporter who has in some way or another suggested Seb will return to driving, because it is fueling my delusion that he will. And it also makes me feel less alone that there are other people that are also jumping through hoops to be like, no, he will come back. And this is how I know it. It makes me feel like, when Swifties have, the fans that like pick up all the Easter eggs every time. There's an article where it's like, Jenson Button said he's going to start driving with Seb. And then Jenson's like, I didn't even mention Seb in this interview. I'm like, that is me, though, jumping through to conclusions, leaping to conclusions.
He like blinked 3 times and he's like, that meant Seb.
He's SEB.
Yeah. Not even like real Morse code. He just blinked 3 times. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, maybe we need to add to the list of things that F1 likes: money, scandal, rumors, delusion.
Yeah.
Was there another? There might have been another one, but those are the main things we love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I will be in denial till the day I die that it's like next year he's coming back.
I am grateful for this podcast, for being a part of this podcast, but even more specifically, I'm very grateful for Tinfoil Hat Time, and I want it to continue to make more. Dirty Air will always have a special place in my heart, but Tinfoil Hat Time is leading into the delusion that we were just talking about.
This is, these two are one and the same. Tinfoil Hat Time is just one of our greatest segments, and there will be plenty more, I'm sure, especially as we get deeper into the coming off season and start losing our minds slightly more. We're gonna have to have whole episodes of just Tinfoil Hat Time.
Yeah, it'll be like Jamie's Tinfoil Hat Time.
Just gonna spew every ridiculous thought I have.
Well, and then also going into like, there's a lot of driver contracts up in 2024. Our Tinfoil Hat Times, our brains are not going to be able to process.
Next Formula One season, when we pick back up, when we start getting to silly season, Tinfoil Hat Time and Dirty Air are going to be back with a vengeance, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Going off of that, though, I am thankful that this year's silly season didn't claim any of my favorite drivers.
That's a really good one.
My 3 favorite drivers, or 4 favorite drivers, top 4 last year.
Name them.
Carlos, Daniel, Seb, Mick. So I had a tough time last silly season. I came through unscathed this year so far.
I mean, yeah. We still don't know. We haven't heard anything about Logan. He's the only seat we haven't heard about, but
Yeah, it's the only one.
hopefully we'll hear soon.
I'm hoping. P7.
Cross your fingers. He's doing great. We love the American King. You brought up Jensen, and I would also like to bring up Jensen because I am grateful for him. I'm grateful for his expressions whenever Danica Patrick says anything.
when he just looks into the camera like he's on The Office.
This is him.
Yep.
Ready. Pretend you're Danica Patrick, but you're gonna be over there. Start talking.
Blah 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 blah.
I know that actually didn't play well for a podcast, but if you watch us on YouTube, you'll be able to see what I just did.
If you watch us on YouTube, you also see that we're both wearing buns today.
Bun day. I hope everybody is doing their washing schedule.
Yeah. Podcast
Jensen
this week did not line up with either of our washing schedules. Can you tell?
No, it's because Thanksgiving. We got to make sure we look good on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Next thing I'm thankful for, and I hope it continues forever and ever and ever. It's one of my new favorite things, actually, is Max's hater era. I love it. I want him to be more of a hater. You know, Max should really just start just start saying what you're thinking. Stop being so quiet.
Yeah.
Let him hear it. Because I love it. I love it. Even when I don't agree with what he says, I just enjoy it.
Yeah, I also love how he just he does it and he just doesn't care. Like he was asked about people booing him and he's like, I'm on the podium. Whose name's attached to that record now that I just broke? He is like, I don't care.
Yeah. James Coker, the TikTok,
love him.
He posted where he was like, I think this is actually making Max's dominant era more fun because he's showing more of how he feels and he's being a little bit more honest. And I completely agree. I'm I am so in now. You're hilarious, Max. And please keep talking about how much you hate everything.
It's spectacular. Do you want to do 2 more?
Sure.
Okay. I am grateful for, I had a lot, so I got to narrow these down. I am grateful for Daniel saying that Charles would be the one that gets married in Vegas because he likes relationships.
The best is when he was like, oh no, is that bad to say?
Yeah. Is that bad? Then we'll leave it at that.
Fabulous. I am thankful for, similar to your first one, I'm thankful for the Singapore Grand Prix, where my bestie, my guy, number 55, won, and up until, we won't know for sure until end of next weekend, but so far is the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race this season.
Which is crazy.
How?
Crazy. That was, Singapore was good, man. Mm-hmm. Singapore was so good. I also had Singapore in mind, but it was because of the ice baths. It wasn't because...
Oh my God.
McLaren put ducks in their ice baths, and then one time, I think it was Lando, they did a dry ice, and it looked like a cauldron, and it looked sick, and I thought it was so cool. But yeah, the content that came out of the ice baths was so funny. I will end on this one and say, I'm going to do an unhinged one. TikTok fan fiction. You guys lean into the best tropes. You got the arranged marriage. You have the brother's best friend. You have the enemies to lovers. And I think they're so creative. I think they pop up on my TikTok all the time. And you guys pick great music. You guys you lead into the madness, which is just F1, and a spectacular job. Very amazing. Thank you for it. Thank you. Just thank you.
Full agreement. Shout out to the TikTok fan fiction writers. Y'all are real ones.
We're gonna do a fan fiction episode. We have
Yeah.
to.
We'll give you like the classic ones where it's like, there's always it's always like she's a driver or she's like the daughter of Toto
Daughter of
or
Toto
like
or Christian Horner has been a one I'm
or
seeing a lot
daughter of
lately.
yeah, daughter of Christian. There's just like all of the tropes and it's
Yeah, or yeah, you're a nepo
wildly entertaining.
baby. It's
um,
spectacular. Thank you for it brings a smile to my face every day because I see them
it's a it's
every
so
day.
great when one comes up and you're like, what could possibly be happening next in this? Or what could possibly have preceded what's currently happening in the
Yeah.
like part that I just scrolled to on my page.
You're like, I have not followed this through. I'm so confused, but I am so engrossed. And it's hilarious. It's
It's
just
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah. And then I will close us out with I am thankful that this weekend is the last race week for the SF23 and the W14. Good riddance. Good riddance. Good riddance to the 2023 Ferrari and to the 2023 Mercedes. May next year be better for both.
Yeah, they gotta just go back, I think. Old schematics.
Yeah, Ferrari should just go back to the F175.
And what, yeah, then is it the W10 or the W11 is better?
W11. W11. W11, I mean, that's the regulations are different, but we will
Yeah.
see. Hopefully, they'll do better. But as I just alluded to, we have Abu Dhabi this weekend. Should be very interesting.
I love Abu Dhabi. Great race.
Yeah, should be
Night
very
race.
exciting.
Another night race.
Another night race, not in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
I don't know what time it is local time, but I don't think it's like middle of the night.
Yeah.
But so it should be a very fun close to the season, final race weekend. Hopefully, we hear about Logan. If not, then sometime soon, hopefully. And enjoy your Thanksgiving if you are in America or if you are planning to celebrate wherever you are in the world. We will talk to you next week. Love you. Bye.
You said it like it was a question.
Well, I was wondering if you were done. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
Just yeah, to those celebrating, have a great Thanksgiving. We do love you, and we are thankful for everybody who listens.
Yes. Thankful,
Yeah,
thankful for
thank you.
all of you. That's our final thankful.
That we should have said that. Cut that around or
sorry. It was implied that we were thankful for you.
I know. Yeah, it was implied. It was so super implied, but we are very thankful. Yeah, have a great week, everybody.
Love you.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.